Hello, friends. Welcome to Geometry Lesson 19. Today we're going to be introducing quadrilaterals. Okay, so what is a quadrilateral? Real simple. It's a polygon. We already defined that, right? A polygon with four sides. Quadrilateral, quad four, lateral, lat, side. And so the first quadrilateral we're going to learn about is a parallelogram. Key thing about a parallelogram, both pairs of opposite sides are parallel to each other. Right? So this side's parallel to this side's parallel to this side. The lengths of the sides don't matter. Um, the way it turns out is that the opposite sides will also be congruent to each other, but that isn't necessary for it to be a parallelogram. The key thing that classifies it as a parallelogram is that the opposite sides are parallel to each other. A kite is a quadrilateral where the adjacent sides are congruent, right? So this side's congruent to this side, and this side's congruent to this side. Kind of looks like a kite, and so that's why it's given that name. If they're all congruent, then it's a rhombus. We'll get to that later. But a kite has two pairs of congruent sides, but it's the adjacent sides, right? Or the sides that are consecutive with each other. Trapezoid has only one pair of parallel sides. Right? So if both pairs of opposite sides are parallel, it's a parallelogram. If you have one pair of parallel sides, then it's a trapezoid. A trapezium has no parallel sides. Look like anything. It's actually a little hard to draw a trapezium because we always go to drawing like a trapezoid or a rectangle or a parallelogram or something like that. But anyway, no parallel sides, it's a trapezium. So that's classifying according to parallel sides, and then also the one the kite has to do with congruent sides. But there are other ways too. A rectangle is probably very familiar with these. A lot of this is probably just review to you, but a rectangle, it's a parallelogram where all the angles are right angles. Okay, rectangle, rect meaning like right. Uh, a rhombus is where all four sides are congruent to each other. Okay, and so it's not a kite where it's only two pairs of congruent sides. Here, it's all four sides are congruent, and it can look like a diamond shape. We've heard it called that before. A square is when you have a rhombus, all the sides are parallel. That is also a rectangle, and so that would look like this. It is a rhombus, it's a rectangle, and it's also a parallelogram. Right, so the square is where they all kind of meet and combine into one thing. Another thing to note about these is how to calculate the area of a rectangle or a square. Area of a rectangle, base times height. Very simple. And the area of a square, since the base and the height are the same, all you need is the length of one side. You square it, and so that's the area of a square. Very simple, probably all review to you. So what I do is I created a Venn diagram to kind of summarize the different kinds of the different kinds of quadrilaterals. So if this whole thing represents all quadrilaterals, you have kites, trapezoids, and trapeziums. A kite is not a trapezoid, nor is it a parallelogram, nor is it a rhombus. Okay, a kite is also not a trapezoid, and a kite is also not a trapezium. So these are separate, right? So if there's something in here, then it's not in this or this. That's how it works. Parallelograms, this is where it gets interesting. Actually, I had to think about how to draw this. So a parallelogram, if it's a parallelogram, it might be a rectangle or it might not be a rectangle. Right. But all rectangles are parallelograms. And so I had to include this here. If there's something that's in rectangle anywhere in here, then it's also in the parallelogram category. And then rhombuses, some rhombuses are not parallelograms, but if a rhombus is a parallelogram, then it's also a rectangle, right? So this whole thing represents rhombuses. Some are parallelograms, which also makes them rectangles. And if they're rectangles, then they're squares, right? So a square is the intersection of rhombuses and rectangles and parallelograms together. So there's a summary, basic introduction to quadrilaterals. Like I said, probably a lot of it review, but important to learn the names, recognize them, be able to describe them, and draw them for yourself. So thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe.